Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday morning where we're reckless and so reckless, I actually ended up using the wrong mug. So I'm dead. The final word before mom this morning. It was sitting on the coffee machine because I was going to make coffee yesterday in the evening. Then I changed my mind. So this morning I just pressed the button. And then literally 2 seconds before we went on air, I look at the mug and I'm like, I don't have reckless. But I don't have Kazi. It's all nuts on reckless. But Gally, you filled in for me a couple of weeks host on this damn thing. What's happening?
Not too much. Just working from home on this fine Friday. So figured I'd jump on with you. It was fun hosting the last two Fridays. We had Florian Friday 1 and Florian Friday 2. But we had a good time, me and Kazi there. So good stuff. Kazi's traveling for work, and I'm still recuperating. And so I will just be as reckless as humanly possible.
You would think Anand is still recuperating, but Anand actually got dragged because they're giving his wife an award for dealing with him for 5 years. So this their 5th anniversary. So they're on the move somewhere, and yeah, that's never met her, but she does deserve an award for sure. So 5-year anniversary, congratulations to them. They're traveling somewhere, I don't know, to an undisclosed location. Let's say, yeah, we were supposed to have Milos Monday, the Milos Tuesday, Milos Wednesday. It just kept going, but finally it is fully and totally official. Probably one of the worst kept secrets at this point, that he was going to sign and everything. Did you get a chance to listen to his first interview and stuff?
Yes, I saw a bit of it. I didn't see all of it, but I got to hear some of it.
What is your impression? I would love to what was your impression from that interview? I wanted to see if you kind of heard what I heard.
I don't know. I mean, I heard that there was a passion and a verb. I also felt like he had a little bit of a overly love for Richard Hughes, when his father made the quote that we'd follow him to, I think he said, if Richard Hughes tells us we're going to India, then the Kerkezes are going to India. He basically sounded like
the Indians are very happy to hear that as the bar.
I took from it, I won't lie, I took from it that he's extremely excited. He's super engaged. I kind of feel like he wants to be loved, and he saw how much love Jeremy Frimpong got and how big his personality was. And in some ways, he almost came across as I may have bad English and may not be able to communicate well, but I'm going to be a fan favorite, even if I tell you I'm going to be. Almost like he came out for a month and said, I'm going to be a Liverpool Red before anyone at Liverpool was comfortable with him saying it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's been a tough act for these two to follow because Frimpong's personality, he's such a goofball and very lively. And I mean, I don't know if you saw, but as they're getting, I also watched the video. These are all from the Liverpool official channel, but it was when Wirtz is going through all the stuff, which is official, by the way. It is Wirtz because he did say it himself. They were talking to him. I think it was the medical guys talking to him what a goofball Frimpong was. They were talking about Frimpong with him, that he could be a comedian and stuff. So a tough act for these guys to follow. Yes, it was always Liverpool. I do say one thing, maybe I was reading too much into it. That's why I wanted to see if you heard the same thing. But even Angie was yeah, that was kind of a little weird. First of all, he went out of his way to mention Robertson at least 4 or 5 times in that interview. And towards the end, he even mentioned something about being young and still learning and stuff like that from Robertson. Is that are we reading too much into it? Or was I reading too much into it? I think because I felt he kind of went out of his way. It's one thing to say, yeah, I'm following, Robertson, who's one of the best left backs and stuff. But for him to say, and I'm still young, I'm still learning, so there's a lot for me to learn from Robertson, I was I wondered if he's doing some foreshadowing.
I think he might be doing a little foreshadowing. I think he's also doing I've heard that this guy's not exactly happy that I'm joining this club, and I've seen his comments out there. And though he talks about welcoming everyone to this club, he also said in the next sentence, I have to think about my own future, and I'm not here to help someone take my job. Like, he basically gave the starting quarterback line Robertson did. That American quarterbacks are like, what do you think? You know, you like to help the person who's come for your job, like, you know, they can figure it out on their own type thing. I don't know that Milos did anything other than make sure that should the red-assed Scott still be there on the first day of training, he doesn't get extra kicked. But I think the reports out of Madrid, Atletico Madrid, are that they're signing an Italian left back out of Atlanta, and they're no longer interested in Robertson. So I don't know if there is a landing spot for him at this point. I don't know that he was ever planning to go. I don't think that this has any impact on whether or not Liverpool go into the season with him as the number one choice. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I could see a world where Kerkez does not start the first week against Bournemouth and Robertson does start. Yeah. But Arne Slot doesn't look like a guy who plays any form of sentimentality, because if he did, or it was about senior players, Kwanzaa wouldn't have started the first match of last season. And if he cared about how young players deal with emotional baggage, he wouldn't have been yanked at halftime and dragged for a month and a half.
Yeah, I think that's part of like the ordeal that it's going to be, you know, like they always say, like over here, like in NFL, like open competition and stuff like that. And, you know, 90% of the time, that is not really open competition. It's more, you know, it's already penciled in, but we just haven't made it official kind of deal. But I do think, and I know what Mr. Barrett is saying, he's 21 and he is coming in a spot where he knows it's probably awkward for him as well because of how established and how loved Robertson is. That's another thing, you know, sometimes players, because I think if this happens, maybe like December, January, it would like, or if it was a January transfer, I think you would have a different feel with fans, because I think everybody, unnecessarily, mind you, was really down on Robertson, like latter part of last year, not last season, but last year, more like November, December. Everybody was like over the top down with him. But once he got a bit more rotation and stuff like that, I felt he had a pretty decent second half of the season, and I think that's why everybody is kind of looking at this totally differently as they would like 6 months ago.
Sure. I mean, he got criticism arguably for the first time in his Liverpool career after having 3 back-to-back stinkers, in which 2 of which cost us actual points at a time when we still thought we were in a title race. So, I mean, I do think he got dragged at times and it was overblown, but it's not like he hasn't had basically 8 seasons of loved bliss, deservedly so, from the supporters. So I think Liverpool supporters are pretty fair, and when they get critical on a player, very rarely is it too harsh where it's like feels like it's piling on. You know, it wasn't what Nunez went through, and Nunez deserved it by the end because his attitude changed. At the beginning, people made excuses, but they liked his passion and they liked the effort. He gave you everything else. He just didn't score the goals. Well, once he stopped doing everything else and he looked surly and he kind of pouted, I don't think it showed as well for him. I think in Robertson's case, he just had a bad run of form, and he did look leggy and a bit old at times. I think the best thing for Robertson's second half of the season is that he has Costas as his backup, and there wasn't a viable option that actually looked better other than maybe 5-10 minute patches and matches where you can remember him on, you know, one hand last season. That was really quality. And, you know, I think had Kerkez been here last year and Robertson had that bad form, I don't know he gets the chance to get back in the side the second half of the year. And I wonder if that's what his fear is. Like, it may go into the season a rotational opportunity, but as the season goes on, he might be playing cup matches and, you know, dead rubbers in the Champions League in the second half of the group stage. And I don't know that some people weren't built to be number 2s. And I don't know if Andy Robertson was built to be a number 2, and I'm not sure. I think he knows that. And I think that's why he mentioned being open to moves if the right opportunity came. Because I don't think he wants to be a number 2 or season.
I don't think so either. I don't think. I mean, you know, that's part of that. And I get that. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I respect that. I definitely get it. Like, you know, like why he would not want to be. I think we saw in the second half of the season that maybe Slot saw that if you want the actual Robertson you're not going to get it every 3-4 days. This is not 2020 anymore. So you're not going to get him like to give you that Robertson performances every 3-4 days. He will need someone to be able to kind of like fill in for him and rotate with him. That's where like Costas came in. I think, see, the one thing that I disagree with, I feel like fans, especially in the back line, always have a villain that they pick on. Because honestly, Robertson was not doing, for the most part, he was not doing anything different than what he's done in the past, where he cheats a little bit off that high line. And then, like he will run back. He's done that in the past, and I pointed it out in the past. But then, at that time, it was either Lauren or it was Gomez or like the target was on somebody else's back. So what everybody else said, I mean, for the longest time, until he suddenly learned Spanish in 2 weeks, people were in denial of like freaking like Trent's defensive work. So I think fans sometimes pick a little bit on one specific player. I felt it was kind of like over the top. There was an obvious drop off, but I thought it was still like a little bit over the top. Tony is in the house. So I'll tell you what, dude. I'll send you some of this ridiculous humidity and heat and sun your way, because it is freaking nasty over here. I think it's throughout the U.S. because I go online, like online games and stuff like that with and I talk to people from all over, and literally everybody is like, it was 94 here, it was 100 here, and stuff like that. Every single person is complaining about it. Mr. Barrett says, what does this all mean for Costas? What does it all mean for Costas? I mean, it's just a matter of waiting for what's going to happen with Robertson for him, right?
Yeah, I think it's in limbo. I mean, I think there's a slight chance in a crazy world that the right offer came in for both, and they might sign another, maybe a center back that could also cover at left back. But I can't see them having a brand new 21-year-old signing and going in with Joe Gomez as his cover, or a kid from the academy. It sounds like I think they've reached a permanent deal for Owen Beck, so he'll be off. And I mean, he's not giving Kwanzaa and Harvey Elliott a chance. I don't think he's given any other kids from the academies that haven't made a first team appearance at this point a chance during this season. Simicast is an interesting one. 10-15 million. You ship them out the door. I think it's a profit. You say thank you for 5 good years of smiles and pictures, and thanks for being Mo's best friend since Dejan left. We appreciate your time here. Other than that, I don't really see the allure of keeping him around, other than the fact that he's been a good servant to the club, and he's clearly a well-liked and respected player. And to our Robertson point, he made it very clear with his, I'd rather play 27 matches here than 50 somewhere else. He values being part of this winning culture in this club. So I think as a supporter, you love that. But as a side trying to win the highest of things, and at a time where it looks like the club is only interested, we all laughed when Slot made the comment in the spring that to play at this football club, you need to be as good as Mo Salah. And now they're going out and buying players in every position, and they're almost like, you don't have to be as good as Mo Salah at right wing, but you got to be the equivalent of right back or the up-and-coming left back or the best young number 10 in the world. And we don't want any striker. We want these 3 top-level strikers. I just think Simicast's time has run out, and I think we're going to see more of this. I think Arne Slot is really trying to build like a dynasty of a team, like not just a team to compete, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the bar is pretty high too. I think they realize that. I mean, he kind of, look, in terms of slots, he came in last year, and I think, I don't want to say the bar was low, but it was low expectations, so he could, go out there. It was a bit more comfortable. This season is a whole different ball game. Nobody, literally, when they pulled up those predictions, nobody predicted Liverpool to be even in the title race, leave alone win the whole freaking thing. Win the whole thing easily, mind you, on top of that. See, this is like what I meant like earlier, that, he mentioned Robo, not Costas. Maybe he just didn't want coffee at the time. Says to me, he knows he's rotating with Robo, and Costas is on the sales list. I think Costas putting that out there, to me, sounded like, Robertson is clearly not thrilled about, being a backup or like being number two. I'm okay with number two. I'm just saying, kind of a thing in the background.
I hate to say it, but from how the Kerkez family handles private matters and or keeps secrets, I'm not sure the club let Milos know anything at all. Like, I'm not sure they're even going to tell him like the code to the training center until the first day of training, out of fear that him and his brothers are just going to show up. I made a comment in our Discord channel after seeing the brothers out the night before in Liverpool and the pictures of them in like pubs and like pounding drinks and like hanging out with regular supporters on Battery Street. I kind of feel like they're like the Hungarian version of the Gronkowski brothers. And I know this from being someone who lives in New England and doesn't root for the Patriots. When Rob Gronkowski signed for the Patriots, literally stock in nightclubs in Boston went through the roof because these brothers, they travel in like packs of 5 and they're just animals. They're just a crazy family from Buffalo. And I feel like these Kerkez kids are just like 4 crazy dudes with mullets that are just coming to your town with crazy sunglasses. And I mean, he genuinely looks like he's out of like a 90s film with the Oakley glasses and the crazy mullet. He looks like he cut his own hair, which I also love. I think it's going to be so much fun to watch him. And as he just like ingratiates himself to the crowd and to the supporters, I just think he's going to be an absolute fan favorite. I really do.
Look, I mean, the fans love a dude who is, I mean, that's why Robertson is loved, right? I mean, I don't think Robertson is not the most technical guy. He's not the fastest guy or anything like that, but he's relentless. And I think fans love relentless. So I think that's kind of like the biggest thing that he brings. Like when you watch him defensively and going forwards, he is relentless, like with his pressing at times and his tracking back and stuff like that. And I think that automatically earns a lot of points on there. Going to be disappointed if Kerkez doesn't show up on game days on the best spot. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's going to be an easy dude to like, that's for sure. I just don't know how it goes on with Ozan is in the house. What's going on? I don't know how it's going to work out with Robertson at the end. Obviously, anybody who follows the channel knows my preference would be Robertson staying. And honestly, okay, if the Atletico Madrid thing is gone, and I'm sure there'll be other clubs interested in stuff. I mean, in some ways, you are getting something instead of nothing at the end of next year for a player that, obviously is going to go down in value because of his age. Do you get what you can, or do you focus more on convincing that, he is going to be a pretty decent part of this thing? And he's not going to be the Costas of the 24-25 season if Robertson stays. His role would be a lot more than I personally think what Costas played in 24-25.
Yeah, I think it will, but I just don't know. I don't think he wants to hear 60-30 rotations, and I think that's the best he's going to get. Like, I do think he'll start matches, but I don't think he starts as many as he's a substitute in. And will he be okay with sitting on the sidelines and watching, Kerkez go out on the pitch when they're playing Arsenal at home in the 3rd week of the season? And I think
more than that, do you think even like because of when you do this bench for the 18, I mean, there's a lot of things you have to consider, like, subs in terms of versatility. If you have a guy like Gomez on the bench, for example, I don't know if you're going to put Robertson on the bench too, because Robertson can only come in and play left back for you. But you already have Gomez on the bench, you can do that for you. I mean, when you're placing people on the bench in terms of positions, I almost feel like when he doesn't play, he might not even show up there. But Costas was there. And, we talked about this before, I think on the Monday shows, the beginning of the season. We saw a lot of 60th minutes, change the right back, change the left back, put the fresh guys in. He was doing that a lot early in the season. Then he saw Costas and he stopped kind of doing that. And he was like, maybe this is not such a great idea kind of thing. I think if you have Robertson and Kerkez, you can go back to that and do the 60-30. So it might not be starts, but it's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, no, it just comes to the temperament of the player. He's going, and I know he's the captain of his club, but he's 31 years old. He's going into the World Cup year. I don't think he loses his spot in the Scottish side. But if Tierney's playing well and he's playing week in, week out at Celtic and the manager sees it, I just think like there's so many factors into this, and it all comes down to Robertson. Like, I don't believe any Liverpool player, other than maybe Kelleher, was really angling to push hard for a move out the club. If any player kind of behind the scenes kicks out and tries to kick out to get himself out, I do think it would be Andy Robertson, because I think he's earned the respect. He's been here long enough, and he has that personality that he backs himself. I mean, look, when he signed from Hull City, people clowned it. And it was Scottish Moreno. Like, this is just, what are we doing? We already have this guy who's not a good left back. And now you're signing a guy from a relegated club. Like, what's next? You're going to go get Harry Maguire? Like, I remember the lines. I remember the jokes. Yep. And it turned out completely different. But I think that's because he had that attitude and the temperament to fight for it. I think he still does. But does he want to at this age? Or would he rather sign somewhere that maybe they'll put him in or they'll give him that shot? It'll be really interesting. I think that's one to really watch how preseason goes. And I think that's one that may come down to the end. Like, we might see Costas and Robertson on preseason tour to give it time to see which one wants to leave or which one they want to work through the door.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, to kind of like feel out where we're at. I mean, here's the thing. Costas is not a young dude. I was just pulling that up. He's 29.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So, by the way, a couple of good comments over here that I got to show. But yeah, by the way, if you're following us, thanks for the comments and everything like that in the chat. An awesome chat as always this morning. Hit that like so some poor soul gets exposed to this comedy as well. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button as well. But yes, I mean, I agree to this between Costas and Tony's nan over there, but I am told several times for some reason that Costas has won us the FA Cup because he happened to take the last freaking penalty. John tells me on Wednesdays that he won us the FA Cup. I mean, here's the thing, right? For Costas, I think, when you talk about, for example, a guy like Kelleher, it's a guy who's younger, especially for his position, who wants to be, who probably feels like, hey, I can start down the road. I can be the big guy in goal in big games and stuff. If you're Costas, I will love the situation too. Yes, you are going to win more silverware. You're probably already comfortable where you're at. You know the team. You have friends on the team. You're happy with your situation. And let's face it, you don't have a chance of, but I'm going to go over here and starts and like I have a chance or anything. He's pretty much, for the most part, capped out. His next step is probably, I don't know, going back to probably Olympiacos or somewhere like that, or whatever his hometown team is, eventually in Greece, and finishing off the last 2-3 seasons over there. But I don't see why Costas would not be happy with the situation. What's not to like? What is Tony? Yes, Tony, what is your man's ultimate card rating, by the way?
I don't know where this chat's going here, people, but normally when Grandma Talk starts happening at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's not usually the way to new subscribers and followers, but I appreciate the interaction as always.
Okay, let's get to this, by the way. So this one is in the books. I mean, the funny thing is, it feels in some ways, this one felt a bit more anticlimactic because maybe it was coming all along. Even the Wirtz official signing, it was almost like a bit more anticlimactic because it has been happening for like days and weeks and stuff like that. So these three that we've been linked to very heavily, and I think the paranoia of a Liverpool fan kicks in, where we want to make sure they're signed and it's not a secure situation and stuff like that. They're out there, right? But what's next? Obviously you're going to bring a center back now. If this was not in the conversation before, you're going to bring a center back because Kwanzaa is gone. I almost feel like we will get another center back to replace Kwanzaa. It hasn't, I don't know, like I didn't see anything this morning on it, but obviously with Nunez going to leave, you're going to replace Nunez. And I feel like you would get one more, maybe like a young player with potential and stuff. Do you see anything else happening out of this offseason? almost sounds bratty to be like, what else is going to happen? But
I think there'll be a center back, and I don't think it'll be a young prospect center back. I do think I wasn't shutting it down. I was just making sure that we be
fueling it to what he was really doing. Yeah.
And I gotta say, yeah, that's well played. Well played, Battle Red. And Tony, thank you for bringing your nan into the conversation this morning, who has been gone for 30 years. God rest her soul. I'm sure she would still be a better left back option today than Sarah Cassidy.
So we're not debating who to keep then, I gather. Okay, go ahead.
Back to the football, I guess. I digress. So that's about as reckless as you can get. I think a starting center back, quality level center back, and I think that's a little bit in response to the Konate rumblings of what might happen, God forbid, if he were to announce he was leaving at the end of next year now, and then they'd have to make a decision. I think they're not buying this player to be a Kwanzaa-like fourth option. I think they want to buy a Premier League ready third option, which is why I do believe the Mark Gay rumors make sense and actually fit what the side needs. And the more you listen to Palace supporters and people that have watched him grow and mature, they talk about just what a leader he is, what a good human being he is, how good he is in the dressing room. Sounds an awful lot like all these stories you hear about Liverpool players. I think the other things all depend on the outs. We've seen rumors linking Diaz, Gakpo, obviously Nunez, and Chiesa to moves away. Do I think, and Jota for that matter, do I think all five will leave? No. Do I think 3 of the 5 will leave? Most likely not. But if 2 were to leave, I think 2 attackers have to come in. And I think one should be a recognized number 9. I don't think it needs to be Isak level. I don't even think it needs to be Ekitike levels. I think it could be somewhere in between that. And then I'd really like to see a young, dynamic attacker that you could slowly integrate into the side, maybe even let him play some matches with the youth team if he's not getting enough run. I know everyone says, why don't you just keep the lad who's tearing up the Euros? It's not going to happen, people. I know how much I love this kid. I don't think it's going to happen because I think that's where the coffers get refilled to continue to do more business. So he's a sellable asset, and he wants to go. I think he will go. So I have my heart set on Fofana if either of the left wings go out of Lyon. I think he's 20 years old, super dynamic. Chelsea's linked with him. We're linked with him. He makes me nervous because he looks like the type of guy City signs, and then 2 years later they become, this great winger. So I would really like them to think about Fofana if one of the left-handed sided players go. And up top, I mean, we hear all the names. We shot down Asherman together on Monday night with Bickler. You have Isak out there, Ekitike out there. I don't think Gyökeres is the type of striker we would be looking at. I think Seshko's overrated.
Links yesterday, and I was like, I just don't think on paper it makes sense to me. But then again, we don't know what's.
He looks like a poacher. I know he scores a lot of goals, but he looks like a 6-yard box poacher, and that doesn't feel like what we need. If you're looking at talent on the pitch and the profile of the player, Osterman makes way more sense than Gyökeres does. But the wage structure, the player itself, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to come to the Premier League either. I really do. I don't know why I feel that way. So the striker's a weird one for me. I saw one report yesterday that they would consider keeping Nunez. I literally almost threw up in my mouth and laughed myself off the highway.
Let's not do this. Yeah, let's not freaking do that. Because we had a post, one of the reels we had, like a short or whatever on Facebook. And a lot of half the comments was like, I would give Nunez 1 more year. He needs to build his confidence and stuff like that. I mean, at one point, do you realize? I mean, this gives me hope. Like I say, if I played, if I went out there as a Liverpool player at this age and with this guts, people would still be like, you know what? He just needs a run of games. He just needs his confidence and stuff like that. And I would survive for a couple of seasons with the faith that the fans have. I'll just run my ass off and. Let's just give up on this. I do because I think we're on the same page with this. I think it's a perfect fit. It goes back to what you're saying. It's a 2/3 center back that you're getting, and not like a 4. because we don't know what's going to happen with Konate and stuff like that. And yeah, the rumors are like, with the price and everything, especially for what you sold Kwanzaa for, it makes way too much sense for it not to happen. My prediction was it was going to happen when we aired on Monday night, but that does not seem very likely. I did see this. I mean, look, the Colombian media is probably not a whole lot better than the Turkish media on where like they just, when they don't have anything, they put something. Or this could be something that, I mean, I don't expect Lucho to be happy with his wages and probably wanting something more. And not being happy, I get that. But nobody's coming for him, so I don't think that's going to change. Because otherwise, if you had like the Saudi link or somebody like that, if Barcelona was still interested, you can go to Olympic Lyon and get Fofana and still keep Gakpo, and you can do some things and like figure certain things. But I think he's staying because there is no interest and there's no value in selling him right now.
Yeah, I mean, believe there's no interest. Like there's not really a push right now because the Club World Cup is still going on. So some of the bigger Saudi clubs are still there, at least for a couple more days. Maybe today's the end of the generic, terrible group stage of that competition. The way I look at Lucho is this. The club has made it very clear you're not getting another contract. He's made it very clear he's happy at Liverpool. He'd play his 2 years out and run it down. I feel like we almost are coming to this changing of the guard where the club is just going to make decisions based on what's best for them, because I think they're almost making it into their business model that this is going to become more and more this is going to be more and more consistent in the world of football transfers, is that the players don't really have the power they used to. 10 years ago, a player told a club, if 10 years ago Isak made it known to Newcastle he wanted to leave, he would get a move. And they wouldn't slap some ridiculous price tag on him. It'd be like, all right, he doesn't want to be at Newcastle anymore. This is how the game works. We're going to have to work to get him out of here, line up his replacement, get a good fee, move him on. I think we've seen this world with how Mbappe handled things, the way Rudiger handled things at the end in Chelsea. I mean, Rudiger was Chelsea's player of the year. They offered him almost $300,000 a week, and he took less money to go to Real Madrid because he wanted to go to Real Madrid. They make so much money now. It isn't about moving for more money. And at the same time, they really like the money. So when they move for free, they get even more. They get money themselves, and they don't hold that same level of loyalty. So I think the club is getting to that point of like, hey, we'll move guys like Elliott and Kwanzaa and young players that are 100% profit. But if they sell Darwin Nunez for $43 million, they make a $22 million profit on him. His book value right now, if you amortize his deal over the 5 years, he only has $21 million remaining on it. They've already paid that other money. It's gone. So they're still bringing in 43 compared to what they have to pay over the next 2 years if he were to see out his contract. So I know we want more. We'll probably get Napoli up, or maybe we'll get them up with incentives in the add-ons, maybe making them a little bit more attainable. But I just don't see a world where he's here on July 7th when they show up for training. And if he is still at the club on July 7th, I honestly don't believe he'll be asked to train with the first team.
Yeah, let's hope he's not. So that he does. Yeah, but going back to the Lucho thing, I think it's a different scenario than when you look at a player like Konate. I think a lot of people are like, oh, like Danny's gonna be on the last year if you don't extend him and stuff. I think the difference with Lucho is he's towards the end of his career, so not a lot of teams are going to come for him at the end anyway and try to sign a 31-year-old Lucho. But next summer you can still probably do a move to the Saudi league because they would be interested in like a really good, Colombian left winger in Diaz, even if he's like 30 years old or whatever he's going to be. So I think you still would get something for Diaz next season. So it's totally different than the Konate situation where the market for him is so much more wide open with top teams because the ceiling is so high compared to Lucho, who somebody might, say, yeah, that's fine. Like, we'll give 20 million, that depth or like a good deal for like a 2-year gap filler kind of a deal. But you will still get offers from the Saudi for him next season.
If you were thinking along those lines, right? And let's say this is in a world where you can't sign Isak. You feel like the price is just too high from Frankfurt for Ekitike, or you're not sure on him. You're not, you still have too much goalpost hitting PTSD to bring in another guy who maybe the only guy in Europe who had worse finishing statistics last season for big chances missed in the Bundesliga. He basically was the Bundesliga's version of Darwin's first year here, where he scored 15 but should have scored 45.
Yeah.
So say you can't get those guys, and you are thinking in a world where I'm going to keep Diaz for a year. Maybe I get an offer next year. Maybe I let him run his year out. Would you consider kind of slotting Diaz in as your starting number 9, playing him through the center, having Jota be his backup, and then maybe looking at trying to pry an Anthony Gordon out as your cover for Gakpo, or bringing in a Fofana as a left wing and a long-term replacement? Like, would you shift your thinking of where Diaz fits into the first 11 based on what you saw? You were much higher on him through the middle last year. But everything I hear about Wirtz is that to get the best out of Florian Wirtz, you want a Isak-like, ball-playing, link-up striker that, makes the runs behind. And, like, is that Diaz for you? Like, where does your thought process there go? Because
my thing is, like, it's not like I was really high on Diaz being 9. I was more upset that people were shitting on Diaz, who was playing out of position. People were shitting on Diaz and praising Gakpo. And the thing that got to me on that one was, well, he is the one who's playing out of position because Gakpo could not and did not want to. So it's unfair to kind of like over-criticize a guy in Diaz who is changing his position from left wing to the middle because the other dude can't, so he's the chosen one. And I think it's kind of like luck on Slot's part as well. The first time we did it is that Leverkusen game where he gets a hat trick and stuff. So Slot can be like, see, it works. So and he becomes there. I think I will be okay. Look, we know with Liverpool, right? They are not going to go and spend 60 million on their third choice. They're just not going to do that. They're not going to spend big money if it's not the guy they really want. They will rather wait and not sign anybody. We've seen it with Van Dijk and stuff like that, right? They're going to wait. So in a case like that where you don't get like Isak or whatever, and you're not sold on Ekitike, would like to get Ekitike playing a tiki-taka system and then really get things going. But
the great thing is that his name is spelled the same forward and backwards.
Damn, dude. Look at that. Got to bring a guy like that in. But anyway, so I think if you don't get that guy, yes, but I still don't think you do the Gordon move. You probably do a move like Fofana if you're doing that. And going back to what you're saying about with Wirtz, yes, that's what we see. But I don't know if that's because he's always, the kid is only 22. So the sample size of what he can do with who is very limited. So we're basically judging everything off of like what he did in the past. But that doesn't mean that, he cannot play with a guy like Diaz who's creating space for him, because it's a dude that likes to take that space and go in the box and score himself. So it might be a plus in that sense. And I don't know if Diaz will be better playing up the middle, having done it for longer now. Let's face it, he was kind of lost at times in terms of what he was doing. But
let's be real. He gets lost at times drifting, and the next thing you know, he's standing next to Mo, putting his arm around him in the middle of a match. He's like, what am I doing?
He was doing that as a left winger, like start going sideways and then just
like dribbling, and the next thing I knew, the manager's like, other side of the pitch. It's just pointing.
I mean, that's the thing, but I agree with Bickler. I mean, in an ideal world, you would sign that when you're going all in, like basically pushing all your chips in, kind of like in a season like this. But I just know that, FSG or Edwards is not going to go and buy a guy that they're like, he should work. He's not our best choice. They're not going to spend 50, 60, 70 million. But we talked about a Monday night, right? These are the prices that these guys want. But I don't know if it's going to be what they get. And we just need the first signing to come across before we realize what everybody's price is. Oh, hey, look, it's the troll of the day. Flavor troll of the day. Thanks, man. We don't hold season tickets. We wish. Well, I don't know. Based on what we're hearing from Bats, I don't know if I want that weather right now, but I don't want this one either. But we would love to be over there in Liverpool with season tickets, but no can do. But hey, Gally over here. I mean, we talked about it before. Flies in like on jets on like golf trips and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's not beyond them to have like season tickets to fly in, watch a game, fly back.
I'm shocked Romano didn't have a picture of me and my entourage flying to Pittsburgh. Flying on, I think it was Breeze, in a seat this big with one carry-on item that fits under my seat. Yeah,
But it was a private jet, though.
Private jets. There's no big trophies next to me on airplanes, I'll tell you that, except for when I fly with my wife, if she's listening. Then, of course, there's a trophy sitting next to me. Who are you kidding? She doesn't sit in the same aisle as me.
No, man, we love Spirit of LFC fans. Okay, let's talk about this real quick, because we were talking about it right before we went on air. These new things that are coming on to, hold on, let me see if I can share this over here real quick, to the Premier League broadcast, which I hate to say it, and especially over here, we're a lot more familiar with it, to be fair, but it's sounds very American, if you will, in terms of like some of the things they're talking about. Halftime interviews with the players or the coaches, interviews for players who are subbed off, which I think is how many bleeping moments are we going to get out of this? Like, do you really want to go? Can you imagine them going talking to Mo if Mo gets pulled at like the 75th minute chasing a hat trick or something?
So let's just get this out of the way first and foremost. I do not agree with this. I do not want this to happen. I do not like that this happens in regular sports, anywhere in the world for that matter, because it does happen other than just in America. It's just, I hate to say it, the world ends up, because the world all watch footy, right? They watch their version of footy. But because a lot of the world isn't playing many of the American sports, especially the NFL specifically, the world watches that sport, so they see more of our stuff, because some of our sports are only really nationally broadcast to international markets from the United States.
Honestly, like, let's face it, if Americans are good at anything in sports, it's milking every freaking dollar off of it. So
100%.
It's a good model to follow.
But I do feel in some ways like this is the Premier League taking a preemptive strike to see if they can get Europeans to hate Americans more than they already do. Right? They were like, wait. The president's trying to take credit for ending a war that isn't over. We hate the man. We hate the people. We hate when they travel here. Spirit of LFC fans hates when Americans talk about soccer. Call it football, right? So this is just another way to basically swing the pendulum to Yanks out, and they're ruining our sport and playing a Super Cup in the United States. I'm not for any of these things, but anyone who doesn't think that the commercialism of football and American dollars haven't greatly impacted how much money the Premier League has, and the reason Manchester United and Spurs could have two of the worst seasons ever in their club's histories in the regular season in the Premier League and still make a European final and earn qualification into the Champions League is because of the money. And these guys want to make more money. So, I get it. We want to kill them for having the Club World Cup in America. You know who's not going to complain about the Club World Cup being in America? The team that lifts the fraud of a trophy and takes home $130 million to add to their club's finances. Like, this is the way business works. I know people hate that football clubs are businesses, but they are.
Like I say, I hated watching in American sports where they talk to especially coaches heading to halftime. First of all, club will run him over because he always started sprinting towards the locker room the moment the final whistle went. Heck, Mourinho would hit the locker room even before the half. Like, usually he goes in like 30 seconds before the final whistle.
Don't kid yourself. Mourinho would be the only manager in the whole league who would not send the assistant over, because he'd be like, there's no way he's going to give you a soundbite as good as mine. And he would show up and he'd probably hold the interview for the entire 15 minutes, where he would just talk down to the reporter for 15 straight minutes and then be like, oh, I have to go now, get my team ready.
Tony says if the show's anything to go by, Yanks totally get footy. Tony, what we need you to do is hit all the reels with footy else and fight the good fights. Because yeah, I just responded to somebody this morning actually who was like, said something like, listening to Americans, and it was me. You know what I don't understand? Do I sound okay for the people on the other side of the pond? When you guys listen to me, have I like built in a weird American accent of some sort that people take me as a Yank? I know they see the name as an American Scouser, but you would think if they hear me talk, I mean, they don't, when they hear Kazi talk, obviously with the Scouse accent, they don't call him American. Do I? Yeah, I know that's not true for one. I know for a fact that's not true. But I don't understand how people like watch where it says the Turkish one underneath, man. They're like, just another Yank talking about like football. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's probably because you have pictures of your dogs behind you. So American.
That's what it is. I gotta move Leo and Stitch out of the picture over here, but yeah, I mean that's just like freaking ridiculous. I feel Brits would like us more if they stop streaming the ninjas out of the Yeah, I hate to say it. I didn't enjoy the food when I was over there, but yeah, we get a lot of hate, Tony. So you gotta hit the internet and fight the good fight over there. But going back to this, yeah, I mean I hate it in American sports. I mean I almost, if you have a manager you dislike or a coach you dislike, just watch one of their games and you will feel bad for even them as they're trying to go to the sideline to give, like, talk to their team and stuff. And they're stopped by usually stupid questions like, what are you going to do in the second half? Are you going to try to score? Like,
I mean, in the NBA, they interview these guys during timeouts. Like in Major League Baseball, they interview them during the innings. Like, yeah. It's that's how boring.
There's nothing happening. So.
That's how boring baseball is. The guy who is in charge of orchestrating it is required not to pay attention and answer questions about what he puts on a hot dog.
That's all you need to know about how shitty baseball is. So I'm all for that. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're not gonna like it. And that's the funny part. I was asking you, like, before we went live, and I think you're 100% right. I don't think any fan wants this. Like, I don't think there's any fan. I mean, look at this chat, right? I don't think we go online. I don't think any fan wants to know, because they know they're just going to get a very stupid, lame interview as like a manager is walking off to the halftime or a player coming off and stuff like that. And I'm sure there'll be like, issued statements and stuff. There might be some interesting moments with, like I say, some angry guy being yanked or something like that. But I think at the end of the day, it goes back to, I think like Trevor was talking about, like the F-bomb is brought to you by Progressive and stuff, and that's what's going to happen, and that's how the money rolls in. We're going to get it whether we like it or not.
Yeah, it's coming, and, it's money. Like, I forget who it was. It's like, follow the money, stupid. Like, just follow the money, and it's advertising. Now, I know during the stupid Club World Cup, I haven't really watched a full match, but it's been on in the background in the pub and stuff. They're doing like side by side, like 20-second cutouts. So basically they make the screen half the size and they run like a 20-second commercial on the other side of the screen. I absolutely hate it. If we think it's not coming eventually, just like we didn't think we'd ever have a day where, the scoreboard would swing and then it would be Progressive for the next 30 seconds, like as an ad. I mean, the video boards behind the walls showing advertisements. I mean, they need to commercialize the game. It's one of the reasons that football took so long to take steam in America. They couldn't figure out how to sell the TV broadcast. And, call it American greed, call it capitalism, corporatism of a sport. I get it. I understand it. I don't love it, but it's real. And I appreciate the people in the comments that have been talking to themselves how it's happening in all the other leagues, and it's not great, but it is what it is. And I don't like it. I'm 100% against it. I understand why it's here. I'm also not going to let it dilute or ruin my third consecutive Florian Friday. And we're just going to have Florian Friday until
Friday, every day, every Friday. Yeah, I mean, like literally, I watch probably to a certain point, like problematic how much soccer I watch. If somebody was looking into, if the doctors get around it and be like, this guy is an issue, I have not watched
So basically, you lie about your footy intake the way I lie when I go for my physical, and they make you fill that little bubble in about how many beers you drink a week, and I'm like 6 to 8, and then I'm like, and then in parentheses I'm like during the Monday podcast.
Yeah, I mean, look, the problem is, I think, especially us, right, over here watching it, being exposed to. I can't watch a regular game. First of all, like, even if it's my team, I have a problem watching a full NBA game, full NFL game, and stuff because of the commercial breaks. I think as fans over here, all these split screens and crap like that, we've been almost like to the point where we're like, you know what? Okay, as long as they don't interrupt the game in full and make it like NBA, we're almost like giving away everything. Just take that, do whatever you got to do. Just don't stop the game for commercial breaks because you feel like that's what's coming next. You know what? We should do quarters or something like that. That's what's I'm afraid of. And I hate to say it, I probably won't be around to see it. But it will eventually happen because the money and the greed, they're like, we'll do quarters, we'll do breaks, 10 minutes, we'll go to the studio for like 3 seconds, and then show commercials for 3 minutes, come back to the studio for another 6 seconds and stuff like that. But there's more money in the English Premier League than any other league in Europe. Yeah, it's coming your way, Jimbo. Buckle up, buddy. It's coming your way. The halftime interviews, interviewing players who are subbed off is just asking for trouble. So here's another thing. I guess I don't know if, but they won't care, right? If they do it, and I don't know, they go to Robertson as he's coming off for Kerkez. He's already pissed off because he doesn't want to give his starting spot, and he tells them to go F themselves in a huge Scottish accent that only probably we understand, not the interviewer. I mean, the sponsor is going to love that because that's going to be played all over the freaking place. So they're going to only do more of it. They're like, maybe we should do more interviews.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing where they have to pick, like, do you want it to be the player? Do you want it to be the manager? Do you want it to be the assistant manager? Like, the fact that they have to, like, think about it and be like, well, today I'm thinking if we can, we're going to take off Mo, we're going to take off Robbo, and we're going to take off Diaz. Like, I could see them literally being like, who's going up and interviewing these guys and what language are they interviewing? We're going to have a translator out there to help Kerkez because you can't understand that guy. And Frimpong talks so damn fast.
I want him to interview like Nunez as he comes out. So. Hey, Trent will be able to answer shit in Spanish now in Real.
It is true. He would be able to answer these questions in Spanish. Not, they do this in Spain, but I'd say Spain, of all the leagues in Europe, Spain feels the most American because it's the most corrupt.
Yeah, true. Exactly. On the way out, since we're talking about money, I did just receive this. Yeah, we talked about that, Jimbo. We're all hoping, man. We're all hoping. We're all in the same boat.
So's Darwin. So's Darwin.
I don't know. I don't know if he's hoping. Probably, right? Because he knows he's just going to rot on the bench. He's not going to get the run of games or all that kind of stuff. But I did receive this video, and we do have some news to share as well. We'll talk a lot more about it probably Monday night too. But I did just literally receive this right before we went on air this morning, so I'll play that real quick.
A big thank you to everybody involved with the American Scouts for the work that you're doing for the 23 Foundation, and everybody in the United States. Your work is much appreciated, the donations that you do and the work that you do. Thanks very much.
So I got this morning because I did share it with the 23 Foundation that it is now official. If you're in that neck of the woods, we are taking the show on the road, literally, and we're going to be doing our 24-hour podathon and bring your own chair program. I really am really recommending this because I've seen the chairs in the bar over there, but we're going to be at Carragher's in New York doing the 24-hour podathon. So they've been nice enough to kind of like get us set up and accommodate us. So we're going to be over there, probably not sitting on our butts for 24 hours straight, but the 24-hour stream is real. If you go back last year, we did it. Just ask Gally about the 24 hours 24 hours stream. So we were basically on air from noon Saturday till noon Sunday. Was that a Sevilla game? Real Betis? It was the 20th and 21st hour.
If you think I remember anything about the last 4 hours other than Bickler staring aimlessly at a camera and asking where he was, And I will say, if anyone is in the area, feel free to come down to Kerkez. We would love to see people. We would love to have there be some live energy in the room. And it might be the only time you get to see what a true, like, sleep-deprived interrogation looks like when we take hostages to Guantanamo and, like, literally waterboard them. Because that was the feeling it went. It is the 8th into the 9th. Is that right? Or the 9th into the 10th?
Basically what we're going to do is we're going to be starting on Saturday. We're going to have to figure out the time, because basically what we did last year is we started at noon. We did a live watch along for the last preseason game. And then we kind of got everybody, I think there was like 10 of us on air, and everybody gave their season predictions, all the contributors and stuff like that. And then the funny thing is we finished the 24-hour podcast. You would think you would finish the 24-hour podcast, I would collapse on my way out the room and not even but no, we were on chatting on Discord for another 3-4 hours, aimlessly about Liverpool's last game afterwards. But we're basically going to be doing it the day of the Charity Shield. So we're going to be finishing the broadcast with a live watch along of the Charity Shield, and then probably do our season predictions and call it another 24 hours. But we did raise $5,000 last year doing this. So we're obviously aiming a lot higher this year, and hopefully we'll get there. And yeah, I just wanted to share that video because I literally just got it right before going on air this morning. But physically, a lot was suffered, especially by Gally. Bickler later found out he had COVID, I think, during the event. So that's partial. But still, the funniest moment is in the 23rd hour or something, asking a question to Bickler, and he's saying something like, "Where am I?" or something like that.
I mean, I thought it was great too, like about because, and for all the listeners out there, we had no clue because, well, it's like running a marathon. If you actually ever ran 26 miles, you wouldn't ever run a marathon, which is why marathon runners, the first time they run one, they don't ever, like, in their training, they never run 26 miles because your body says, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you do this?" We'd never done this, and we didn't really look into it. So we record it for 24 straight hours and then find out that YouTube only allows you to go live for 12 hours. So luckily there is no imperial evidence that this 24-hour podcast happened, but we will be breaking this one into 2 12-hour segments. So we will be able to live in infamy and infamousness for everything that we do and say, and you'll be able to get involved. So if you do own a business, if you or your OLSC want to sponsor, we do sponsor hours, which allows you to send a person in. We'll have all that information coming out, but all of the money we raise goes to charity. We invest money into buying equipment and travel this year. We're really excited for it. We had a silent auction last year, and then we also had a GoFundMe. So if you're in the New York area and you can come live, that would be great to have you there. If you can't, and you're going to join us at various times over that day when you, as a like-minded smart human, aren't sleeping, please share the links, get the word out to your groups, because the more people we can reach, the more money we can raise. And if you don't know what the 23 Foundation does, it does a lot of really great things for underprivileged people and people in need over in the Liverpool area. And Jamie's been good to us, including the events and the items at the silent auction. Last plug, if you have an item that you would be willing to donate, we will absolutely shout you out during the process, and we'll get that included in our silent auction. Just send us a private message on any of our socials, and myself or Tamuchin will get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a couple of like followers, listeners send some items in, and I know, like, if you're on the other side of the pond, basically because of our big guy and the stupid tariffs and everything, shipping is obnoxious, and the tariffs, and so basically everything in the UK is being sent to the foundation, and they're going to be sending everything to us at once, with some of the jerseys and stuff that is signed by the players. I think some of them are signed by Jamie himself and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's going to be I mean, we are trying to raise money.
I'll guarantee somebody has enough cash to buy that thing,
just to burn
it, to dismantle it, to change it up. I'm sure you could change the TAA out of R somewhere in there, rework the letters. It's be like a
different player. It doesn't even say Trent. It just says Alexander Arnold. Like, who is that?
That's because he knew if they put Alexander Arnold on the back of his jersey, that the Spanish media would never put that on the front page of a newspaper. So he was like, "Oh, my brand and my image."
Yes, unfortunately. Someone was asking something earlier. I did miss the question, but yes, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, we've had some personal like sponsors last year. We had some like supporter clubs. I know we had a couple of pubs where like obviously the Carragher pub themselves were like a sponsor as well. So yes, we are taking sponsor for all the hours. There's 24 of them to pick from. So I came up with this great idea last time I was on vacation last year, and then these two guys kind of got suckered into it, and I appreciate that because we just struggled physically, and I think there's no way to prepare for this. You guys, I thought it was going to be a breeze. But around 2, 3 in the morning, I was like, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. When I started getting dizzy, I was like, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. And yeah, going back to what you're saying, because YouTube is like, no moron is going to be on for 24 hours straight. So they cap it at 12. They must have left the thing on or something like that. So they capped it at 12 for us. But we'll get more, like, we'll reveal more details. But I kind of wanted to, since I got the video, kind of wanted to mention it. And obviously, big news. Thanks to Bickler for doing the work behind the scenes, working with Carragher's, getting that all set up for us, working on getting the equipment and stuff like that. Because, you know, we're just like measly guys with a microphone over here. Oh, that's what it was. The Ozan was saying it's great to see two billionaires supporting a worthy cause. It's only a tax write-off for Galley, to be fair. That's why he's doing it. So so he doesn't have to give away from his billions and his private jets and everything like that. But
Yeah.
any plans for the weekend? Are you taking the jet somewhere, or what are we doing?
I haven't decided yet. You know, I mean, I was gonna just have my chauffeur, my driver, bring me in. So I don't even have to worry. Like, I will tell you this: I was looking at hotels and I started thinking about it. I was like, because I'm the one that doesn't. I don't have to fly. You know, I live in Massachusetts, so I could drive. I could take a train. I could. I mean, hell, I could freaking Uber if I really wanted to. But if I really wanted to, I mean, it'd be expensive. Yeah. But the point was, you know, I started looking at hotels and I was like, man, if I get this hotel from Friday, what am I going to do? Check out on Saturday? Am I going to pay New York City, Manhattan prices at a hotel for Friday and Saturday night when I'm not even going to be there Saturday night? So I'm trying to decide how crazy am I going to be? And am I just going to go 24 hours and then just literally like walk out delusional and try to figure out Grand Central Station and take the train home Sunday afternoon? Like, I kind of am up in the air. So unless, you know, one of our listeners here has a couch or something, I can just pass it.
Can you get fives?
Yes, Aaron, I do need some fives. That's we'll need some fives, Aaron, on August 9th for the 24-hour podcast. You can donate all the fives available.
Yes,
and then I'll donate
time, 5,000 times. Yeah, because we usually start the GoFundMe and the silent auction a week before when we go live for the 24 hours and basically finish it off the Sunday night. I say like we usually, this is the second time we're doing this, mind you, it's not like but it is an annual deal, so it will keep going. And hey, like I say, I think we all were very proud of the 5,000 last year because it's a number I threw out there thinking I got to aim high. And, you know, like guys like, you know, like Trevor and stuff like that in the comments over there, a lot of people, it's not just us three we're doing the physical battle for the 24 hours, but there's so many people in American Scouts are behind the scenes, contacting people, getting sponsors, getting the word out and stuff like that. So they're like a huge part of getting that 5,000. There was a lot. It's a huge group effort, and that's why I'm kind of very pleased about it. But yeah, so no plans for me this weekend either. Usually that's how it starts. You know, that means that's going to be a lot of gaming and stuff like that, just like a chill weekend. But maybe we'll have some transfer news to talk about Monday. I'll be back with the Polish Prince. Until then, have an awesome weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining the broadcast. Hit the like, subscribe, and all that crap. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Take care.